It is finally here, folks. The famous Buff-A-Touille Keto Biscuit. Oh, you don't know what I'm talking about?
Flashback.
And the keto biscuit was by far superior.
Now that you know, let's get on into this.
All right, welcome back to Buff-A-Touille. So there's a few different processes for this. We have a wet process, a dry process, and a process where we combine those together. And so we're going to start off with the wet process. Okay, so for the wet ingredients, we only need three things. We need 2 eggs, 2 large eggs. We need 4 ounces or half cup of sour cream. And then we need 4 tablespoons of butter. And so we're going to combine those together. And before we do that, we want to melt the butter. So I'll melt the butter and then we'll start combining everything. Okay, now we got our Kerrygold butter. We always use this in everything we make. So we're going to go ahead and put that in first. Set that aside for a second. Go ahead and put this in. Looks so good, I just want to dive into it and start swimming around. And then we're going to put in our sour cream. So as a reminder, 4 ounces of sour cream. Then the last item are 2 large eggs. I like to have a bowl nearby for the eggshells. Alright, so then I'll wash my hands and then we'll stir this up. Alright, so now we're ready to mix these together. So we'll go ahead and I'll stir these up. I recommend preheating your oven. So 450 is the recommended temperature. I do have it on convection bake, so we are just a little bit under that. If you're not doing convection, 450. Alright, so now here's the trick on the dry ingredients. We got this ready. The dry ingredients, one thing that I used to do in the past, I didn't realize this cool little feature, was combining them in a mixer and chopping them up. So for that, we're going to use 3 different ingredients, and we'll talk through that next. All right, so for the dry ingredients, there's the keto part of this, really. Almond flour. I use almond flour in many things. So this is an excellent keto alternative for regular flour. And it's also good for gluten-free, it says on the back. But for this, we have 1.5 cups of almond flour. We have 1/2 cup of mozzarella cheese. And then we have a 1/2 tablespoon of baking powder. So we're going to go ahead and mix those into our chopper mixer machine, food processor. So in all transparency, I am going to make a double batch today. This will serve, this will create about 6 to 8 biscuits. And we love the biscuits and gravy so much, I know we're going to need some more. So a good Christmas present, I should say, a good present for me in the future would be a larger food processor. All right, so here we go. We got this unplugged. We're going to take this off. We're going to mix these together. Now we gotta stir it up and we'll have a really nice batter. If you don't chop it up, the cheese is just too big and it won't blend in quite right. If you do other keto dough recipes like fathead dough for pizza, those typically you actually would melt the mozzarella cheese in the microwave a little bit. But I don't know if you can see here or not, but it almost looks like cookie batter at this point because everything was done so finely. It comes across as very fine, very creamy. Earlier I said we're doing double batch today, and with that, this is still the single batch. We'll just make this a second time. All right, so now we're ready to put it in here, and it's really not going to rise, honestly, very much. So you want to fill it about 3/4 full. If you don't have liners, you want to grease it with some form of oil or something. But unlike other baked goods, these aren't, like I said, they're not going to rise. All right, so actually it just turned out we had enough for 7, as you can see here. So 6 to 8 worked out to 7. And so now we're gonna put this in the oven for 10 to 12 minutes. And then once they do come out, we'll let them cool. So we'll see you in a bit. All right, so these just came out of the oven. They did rise a little bit more than they did last time, so you saw how much I filled them up. You see they popped over a little bit. That's fine. You don't want to eat these right away. We're going to want to let them cool for probably about 30 minutes or so. In the meantime, I made that second batch, so you can see if you're prepared and ready to go. You know, the 10 minutes had the next batch ready. So we will enjoy these here in a little bit with our biscuits and gravy. As a reminder, check out that biscuits and gravy video from before, and we'll talk to you in a bit. Okay, the time has come. These have cooled nicely. The cooling time was about appropriate for making of the gravy. So I made the gravy. So I'm going to go ahead and make one of these. The liners that I used were aluminum, and then they had like a paper liner in there, and they just came out beautifully. I like to crumble mine up. I add a little gravy here. If you want to know how to make this gravy, watch our biscuits and gravy video. This is by far, this is wonderful, wonderful gravy. So, okay. All right, I need to let that cool just a second so I didn't burn my mouth. But here we go. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, that's a Buff-A-Touille moment right there. So, before we wrap up, just want to say, don't eat these by themselves. They're meant to be accompanied with something, especially the biscuits and gravy. If you eat them plain, they're different, right? So we're just put them with something, especially this gravy. You will be so happy, and you'll be excited to do it again. So thank you for joining us today. Reminder, check out the how to make the gravy. We got that on an earlier video. Here are the keto biscuits. The gravy is keto gravy as well, so enjoy.